So we're going to get started with our Placester 201 class. This is our more advanced Placester class. If you are looking for Placester 101, that was actually last week. You can actually watch any of our previous Placester 101s or 201s except for last week's class because I forgot to start the recording. But those are recorded at slmtraining.com. This class should be up there within just a couple of hours today, but at the latest probably tomorrow. I am verifying right here that the recording has started, so it should be up there properly, unlike last week where I forgot to actually start the recording. If you'd like to listen on your phone instead of your computer speakers, you should have seen that number flashing by on the slideshow a couple of times now. I just sent that to you in the chat window also. And speaking of the chat window, if you'll look up at the very top of the screen here, you should have the same 5 buttons that I do. If you'll click on this one just to the left of center, that's the chat button. It looks like a speech bubble. That'll open up the chat window here. This is where I'm sending you guys a couple of messages as we get started, just so that you can have those. The next message I've got here is that if you're using what's it called? Any browser. Let me start that over. You want to use any browser except for Microsoft Internet Explorer. So if you've got Windows 7 or 8 and you've still got Internet Explorer installed and that's the browser that you're using, unfortunately the Placester system will not load in Internet Explorer. That's actually what's on the slideshow there right now. You'd want to upgrade to a more modern browser like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. If you have Windows 10, that does not have Internet Explorer. That instead has Edge, which is the newer browser that replaced Internet Explorer about 3 years ago. So that one's fine to use. And then I do want to point out, since last September, KW International changed the login system for MyKW. And since then, Placester has also had some issues with Safari. So if it's not working properly in Safari, you would want to switch to one of those other browsers as well, Chrome or Firefox or one of the others that you may know about. This class assumes that you've already worked through everything we covered in our Placester 101 class. And again, if you want that information, that is recorded at slmtraining.com. So we're not going to cover any of that information. We're just going to start where we left off with Placester 101, and we'll get started with that right now. So let me minimize our slideshow here. So like we covered in Placester 101, the first step to accessing your KW website is logging into mykw.kw.com. That's not accessed by logging directly into the homepage of your website, nor is it accessed by logging into placester.com. There is no login information for Placester. So if you ever see a Placester login page, that's the incorrect page, and it's probably something to do with that single sign-on issue that I was talking about with Safari. So you would need to access that through MyKW. So to get there, once we're signed into our MyKW homepage, up in the very top black menu, we'll hover over Technology. Then we'll click on KW Websites, the third option down here. On this page, you should have a red button that says Go to my website. If you don't have this button, instead there will be some instructions on this page for how to get this button. We go over that more in our Placester 101 class, so please refer back to that if you don't have this button. If you do have the button, we'll click on it to move forward and get into our Placester interface. Once we're in the Placester interface, again over on the left, we'll click on Edit Site to go into our site settings. And this is the page that we worked on all last time in our Placester 101 class. Here in 201, we're going to jump over here to Pages, Blog Posts, Testimonials, and Areas. That's what we're covering today. We're going to start actually though at the very bottom of the site settings page. We left off in Placester 101 at Custom Domain. And this is where you can see the address of your site. This is also where you can connect any domain that you've purchased to your KW website and use that as your site address instead of the .kw.com address that KW provides for you. If you want information about getting a custom domain, we actually have a link to a GoDaddy deal where you can get a .com domain for 99 cents for the first year. After that, it would be regular price, which usually isn't very expensive depending on the domain that you've got. But for the first year, it would be 99 cents. And I've sent you the link to that. That page also has information about how to choose a custom domain. What you want to use as your custom domain is your own choice, but it has some guidelines and rules of thumb for you, so you can choose a domain that's going to work for you. And then if you already have a custom domain that you want to connect to your site and you don't want to try to figure it out yourself, we can actually do that for you. That's a complimentary service through your Market Center subscription. And I sent you guys the link to that there in the chat window again. And again, in that chat window, if there's anything you're unclear on or that I accidentally skipped or that you'd like me to cover that I haven't, send those over in that chat window. I can answer any questions that you guys have. I will be monitoring that. So moving on to new information, we're going to come down here to site tracking. This is where you can track the activity of visitors on your site. There are two different ways to track activity on your site. One is through Google Analytics tracking, and then we've got Facebook Pixel tracking. We're going to skip the conversion tracking because that's to do with Google Ads, and that gets into an entire other animal. We're just going to handle Google Analytics and Facebook Pixel. Google Analytics only gets you what information? It's information about what people are doing on your site. Where did they come from to get to your site? How did they find it? What pages are they viewing on your site? How long did they spend on your site? Where did they not where did they go after they got to your site, but where did they go before they came to your site? What page did they have the link to your site on? That kind of information. And you can set that up for free through analytics.google.com, and you would just paste in the tracking ID that it provides for you into this box right here. And if you look over on the right, this is the format that ID is going to take. It's going to be UA-number. And if you need some help getting that set up, that's actually another complimentary service we can do for you. I'm sending you guys the link for where we can do that here in just a second. There we go, that's there in the chat window. And one thing to mention is if you're watching this on a recording or if you're not able to find the chat window for some reason, you can just send us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com and request the notes for Placester 201, and we can send those to you really easily. Okay, so that's Google Analytics. That gives you that what information. It doesn't give you any who information, no names, no email address, no phone numbers. It's just what people are doing on your site, and it doesn't help you identify anybody. If you want that who information, they have to have come to your site through a Facebook ad. You have to pay for Facebook ads to see who information unless someone fills out a a lead capture form. If you want to see who came to your site besides that, they have to have come through a Facebook ad. So if you go to Facebook, you create your ad, you're running that on Facebook, and you want to set up your Facebook pixel, and it's going to provide a pixel ID. In fact, it's going to provide a whole entire code snippet for you. If you want to send us that whole code snippet and include your MyKW username and password, we can pull just the ID out of that needs to go into this box and place that onto your site for you. And you should start getting that tracking information within about 48 hours. If you want more information about either Google Analytics or Facebook Pixel, just send us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Exiting that, oh, by the way, once you've put in either of those IDs there, you want to make sure to click your Save button to apply that to your site, because remember from Placester 101, unless you click Save, no changes are applied to your site. They get lost and you'd have to redo them if you click out of it without clicking Save. Coming down here to site verification, this is verifying that you are the owner of the site and you have the ability to make certain specified changes from any of these providers here to prove that you do own this site. Google and Bing Webmaster Tools, you may recognize those names. Google and Bing are search engines, and their Webmaster Tools services help you to improve your site so that you can do better on search engine rankings. And in order to do that, they need you to verify that you are the owner of this site so that they can look at it and tell you, okay, here's where you can improve that. And they're going to generate a code for you that has this meta name, blah, 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 and then content equals whatever. That part between the quotes here after content is what has to go in this box. If you want more help setting up that Google Webmaster Tools, that's another service that we provide complimentary through your Market Center subscription. I'm sending you that link there. We don't set up Bing Webmaster Tools because Google is very much the search engine giant, so we just focus on that. But if you do want to go set up Bing Webmaster Tools and they provide you this snippet here, we can pick that out and put that in the box correctly as well if you want to send us that snippet and your login information for MyKW. For Pinterest here, this is specifically for you've gone to Pinterest, you've created your account, and you've set up a business page. This is allowing you to link to your website on that Pinterest business page. Otherwise, you can't post a link to your website there. So Pinterest is going to generate one of these same codes for you, and you would paste in that ID into that box. If you want to send us that code and your login information, we can get that plugged in properly for you as well. If you want more information about all of our free services through your Market Center subscription, I'm sending you the link for that there. That's scottleroymarketing.com/support. We've got about almost 4 dozen different things that we can do for you complimentary through your Market Center subscription. So definitely check out all of those services. Again, after you've made any changes to this section, make sure to click Save to apply those changes. The last thing we're going to cover here in site settings before we jump over to pages and blog posts and everything is this SSL certificate. SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer, and this is security for your site. This is so that you can have that HTTPS in front of your site address and protect people's information that they're submitting via those lead capture forms. Without this, theoretically, it's not super likely to happen, but theoretically, say someone was on Wi-Fi, maybe in a public place, and they submitted a lead capture form on your site, those lead capture forms ask for email address and phone number, and if there's a hacker on that same Wi-Fi network, they could theoretically grab that information out of the air as it's submitted to your website. With this SSL turned on, which is the default, you want to leave this on except for in very, very extreme cases. I've only seen one case in my, 4 years now working for KW. I've only seen one case where we had to turn this off, and that was with a specific something to do with a custom domain. So in the vast majority of cases, you want to leave this on so that when someone submits information on your site, no one can grab it out of the air. It's only going to go to you as they intended. So leave this on. Don't change anything in this section. That's it for site settings. Now we're going to get over into the interesting stuff, the things people wanted to know in our Placester 201 class. So we'll click over here to pages. There should be a number of default pages that were created when your site was generated by Placester. You're probably going to have more on this list than I do because the newer Placester sites have some additional stuff that Placester decided to add to the sites that is new since Scott got his site several years ago. So you may have some additional pages on this page here listed. One of those is a What's My Home Worth page. Leave that page there. I used to say let's delete it, but let's leave that page there because it actually has, it's essentially a lead capture form. It's not an automatically generated CMA, but it's a lead capture form where people are filling out their information and their address, and they send that to you, and you manually generate the CMA to send to them. It's not an automatic system. It's not cloud CMA. It's not connected to anything else. It's just a lead, and you generate the CMA. So leave that one there. But there's also another one that's usually generated that says buyer resources. That's very, very, very generic information that actually usually isn't helpful to anybody that's visiting your site. So you may want to look at that one and come over and remove that. And you can remove almost any of the pages that you create on your site except for this about page and this listing search page. Placester won't let you delete those, but you can edit them. If you want to click on either the name of the page or on the edit link here, that'll go in and let you edit that page. Instead, we're going to talk about creating, actually before we do that, let's talk about these different pages that are created by default that I know for sure you should have besides those other two that I mentioned. The About page is pretty self-explanatory. It's your About page. It's got your information, your biography, and all that stuff. Blog is where it's going to list any of the blog posts that you create under this section, which we're going to next. Contact is just a contact form on the page. Listing search is where they search for listings on your site. Definitely don't want to remove that one. And then your favorite listings is your as in the site visitor's favorite listings, not your as in the agent's favorite listings. If you want to show your favorite listings, your preferred listings, your featured listings, your listings, whatever you want to call it, there is a page type where you can do that, but this is not it. This is where if someone came to your site and created an account and saved some properties, this page would list all of those properties that they saved. This is not you telling what to show on this page. This is the person visiting your site. So we're going to click on this plus sign up here to create a new page. And as you do that, I do want to point out, if you go over here to blog posts and testimonials and areas, that same plus sign is at the top of any of those sections. The plus sign means creating a new of whatever it is you're looking at that point, whether it's a blog post or any of these others here. So we'll click the plus sign here to create a new page. We're going to go through the different types of pages you can create before we actually do create 2 additional pages. Actually, you know what? I think on the newer sites, the 2 pages that I'm going to create are already on the site. There should be a testimonials page and an areas page on there already. So if they are there listed on that page, the list of pages, go ahead and leave those alone. We don't need to create them again, but I am going to go through the different types of pages you can create. So when you're creating a page, starting at the top here, the slug is the address of that page. I'm not sure why they didn't just call it address. Slug equals address equals slug. They're the same thing. And this address, is affected by the page title. Whatever you type into this box here, it's going to stick that at the end of the address here, and that's going to be the address of your page. There's no way to have a different slug or address versus the page title. They have to match exactly. There's no way to change it. What am I trying to say there? I know other site providers like WordPress specifically lets you have a different address versus the title, but here in Placester you can't do that. They are going to match. So I'm going to call this like a test page. There we go. And you see that it sticks that at the end of the slug there. For template here, this is where you're choosing what kind of page you want to create. Is this an about page? And that one's already been created on your site. No need to recreate that. Do you want an agent's index page? Well, too bad. If you notice, as I hover my mouse over this, it actually skips between about page and areas index. It won't let me actually click on agent's index, and that's because that's part of an upgrade package from Placester. This is where if you're like the lead agent on a team and you want to list everybody that's on your team on one page, you would need to have the agents index page, and there'd be a new section up here at the top called agents, and it would list all those agents that you create in that section on this agents index page. And while we're on that subject, index means list. List is index, index is list, list, index, same thing. Anytime you see the word index, think list. An index is a list. Just want to make sure that's 100% totally clear. Index equals list. So an agent's index is an agent's list. Areas index is areas list. Blog post index, blog post list. Okay? So moving down here, this areas index page is an index or a list of areas that you create here in the areas section, which we're going to do in just a little bit, but I just want to go through the different types here while we're doing that. Blog post index is an index or a list of posts that are created here in the blog post section. This page is automatically created on your site by default. You don't need to create a new one. The client profile is your favorite listings page that's already created on your site as well. The client profile is that page where it's going to show the favorited listings of people who have created an account on your site. So we don't need to create that one again either. Neither do we need to create the contact page. That's just got that contact form on it like is already created. Here's another one that's going to skip right past this custom landing page. We don't have that option here. That's again part of an upgrade package. So this is where you can create your own customize, like what is my home worth page or something like that, maybe a newsletter sign up or I don't know, something. And this is again part of an upgrade package. And for any of these upgrades, you would need to contact Placester directly. We don't have any information about upgrade information from Placester. You'd have to contact them directly. This is their system. We're not in charge of it. Under that, we've got the default page template. This is the one that you're going to use most often. This is where you can put in your own content, your own pictures, your own videos, your own text, and everything like that. You can format it almost any way you want. You can put code in there. This is the one that's going to be used most often to create your custom pages, and we'll talk more about that later. Coming down here to featured listings page, this is where we were talking about earlier that your favorite listings is the site visitor's favorite listings. This is the one that's you as the agent's favorite listings. It's going to take whatever settings you put in the featured listings section back in site settings, and it's going to have a whole page full of nothing but listings that meet those criteria. So if you want to, you could create that page there, and you could label it maybe my listings or our listings if you're on a team, or featured listings or spotlight properties or something like that, and that would be listings that meet whatever criteria you put there in the featured listings section in site settings. Under that, we've got a listing search page. Again, this is already created on your site. No need to create another one. It's just where people search for listings on your site. For the Madison theme specifically, these two pages right here are only available on the Madison theme. If you're using any of the other themes, I think including the Madison Metro, you're not going to see these two options. So if you're using like the Plymouth or the Fremont or anything else, you're not going to see these options. If you want them, you're going to have to switch back to the Madison theme. The RSS feed index page here is kind of neat. Say you have a blog already built on another platform, say it's blogger.com or wordpress.com or anything else, and you want to have those listings come over onto this site automatically without having to copy and paste them into the blog section here in Placester. You could create an RSS feed index. And you would go over to that blogging platform where you've already got those posts created, and you would need to find the RSS link. RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication. Syndication means copying out to other places, and you would need to contact whatever provider of that blogging system that you're working on. We don't have any instructions on how to find the RSS feed for anywhere else, but you would get that feed link and you would paste it here into the RSS feed index page, and it would automatically bring those posts over from whatever service you're already using here into the Placester system. And you could go delete all of the blog page and blog index and all that stuff from the Placester end, and it would just basically use that as the blog for your Placester site. Under that, we've got Real Satisfied ratings and reviews. From my understanding, Real Satisfied is essentially Yelp for real estate agents. It's where people can leave you, reviews. And if you have a paid Real Satisfied account, you can automatically bring those reviews from Real Satisfied over here into your Placester site. You're paying Real Satisfied for the upgraded account. You're not paying Placester for any upgrades. This page type is available here in Placester for free. But in order to get those what are they called, reviews from Real Satisfied here into your Placester site, you have to pay Real Satisfied for an upgraded account. And then the last one here that's selected by default because it's the last one in the list is the testimonials index, which again is an index or list of any testimonials that you create here in this section. And we are going to create one of those if it's not already created. Do our Placester sites have an RSS feed of its own? Not that you can find here in the Placester system. I know there are different ways across the internet where you can paste in a website's address and it will help you to generate an RSS feed, but those are pretty clunky and awkward to use, and I've never been able to 100% figure them out. So the blog system in Placester, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have an RSS feed to send to anywhere else. And I'm not sure why you would want to do that. If you wanted to elaborate on that, you're welcome to. But as far as I'm understanding, typically what you would want to do is bring the RSS from elsewhere into Placester rather than the other way around. Okay, so let's choose that default page template here just so I can give you guys an idea of what creating a custom page is like. You'd like to pull the feed into Hootsuite so that blog posts can be distributed to social media. That is a very good question. That is something we're going to need to look at. Let me make a note here. What did I do with it? Okay. Okay, so I've got that noted there. One thing that comes to mind off the top of my head is instead of using Hootsuite, you could use something like IFTTT, if this, then that. It's I, F as in Frank, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, T as in Tom.com. You could set it to, and I'm not sure if this integration is available, but you could set it to maybe monitor your site, and I'd have to look into that more, but you could potentially set it to monitor your site, and if there's a new blog post, then it would post it to Facebook and to Instagram and whatever else. But I'll have to look into that more for our next Placester 201 class. That's a very good question. You also might want to email that to us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Okay, back to our default page template. Once you select that there, we've got a new section down here called Page Content. This is where you can put in your own custom information. You can paste in your own text. You can put in code here, using this button right here. You can do bold, italic, underline, all that formatting stuff. You can insert images. You can insert videos. Now keep in mind the videos here have to already have been uploaded to another site like YouTube or like Vimeo. You can't upload a video directly here to Placester. It has to already be hosted somewhere else. So you can paste in, put in your own content here, be whatever you want on this default page template. Underneath that, we've got a couple of checkboxes here. Display full width is off by default, and this only works if you turn it on if you're using the Madison or the Madison Metro theme. What happens when you check this box and you're using one of those themes is by default, over on the right side of your site, there's a contact form and there's a listing search form. If you check this box, it removes those two forms and puts the content of this page here across the entire screen. So say you were creating a quote-unquote landing page, you would probably want to check that box for display full width so that they don't get 2 forms to fill out or 3 forms to fill out really on the same page. They would get confused, and you just want to give them just 1 form to fill out. Where was I? So I'm going to send you guys another note here. We actually have an option where we can create a free quote-unquote landing page for you for seller leads that's using Google Forms, and I just sent you guys the link there where you can request for us to get that taken care of for you. That's included on that scottleroymarketing.com/support. I just sent you the link to that particular form that you can fill out. The next checkbox here is add this page to my menu. That one's checked by default, and most pages that you create, you do want it to automatically be added to the menu, and then you can click and drag and move things around from there. Under that, there's a meta title and a meta description. These are for your search engine optimization, your search engine rankings for this particular page. And if you want to learn more about there we go. If you want to learn more about using or improving the search engine ranking on your site, I just sent you guys the link to our search engine optimization challenge. That's a 30-day challenge that walks you through creating a schedule and doing things to improve your site's ranking on search engines. I'm not going to go into very much detail about how to do these here because we have limited time. So coming back up to the top, after explaining those different sections of creating a new page, we are going to create a couple of index pages. We're going to create an areas index if it's not already created on your site. We're also going to create a testimonials index, again, if it's not already created. If you see areas and testimonials already listed on the pages list here, you don't need to follow through with me. I'm just going to create them here for those that don't have them. So I'm going to select areas index here, and you can name this anything that you want. Typically, we recommend something like areas I serve, or where I work, or learn about the area, or about the area, something like that. I'm going to call this my service areas, something like that. And then under that, you have the option to put in some page content. You don't have to. You could totally leave this blank, and it would still list whatever areas that you create here under the areas section. I'm going to put in some test content in here. These are my area pages, just to show you what that looks like once we get that created. And then we'll scroll down to the bottom, and you'll notice there's no checkbox for display full width. Certain page types, like this area page index, don't have the option to show it full width. It'll always show that search form and that contact form over on the right side, and that's a good thing. We want people to be able to contact you from any page on the site. We are going to leave the box checked for add this page to my menu, and I'm going to leave the meta title and the meta description alone because we just don't have time to dive into those. So I'll click save. Oh, there's 2 options down here. You can save this as a draft, which means it wouldn't go live on your site. Site visitors wouldn't be able to see it even if they typed that address from the top, and you could send it live later, or you can click save to send it live to your site right now. And when you do that, it says this page was added to your menu. You have the option to go to the menu and drag and drop things around to edit it. But I'm just going to close it because I don't want to do that right now. So now we've got that my service areas page listed on the pages page. We're going to click the plus sign one more time to create another page, and it is going to be that testimonials index that's selected by default. So we'll just leave that selected, or yeah, selected there. And then for the page title, you can name it something like, you know, just testimonials or reviews or happy clients or what people say about, you know, your name. I'm going to call it From the Horse's Mouth because I like to have fun, and this isn't an actual website that other people are going to be seeing. So From the Horse's, mouth. There we go. And you'll notice there is no page content section. You can't add any text or images or videos to this page. It's just going to list whatever you create here under testimonials. Now, while we're talking about that, there is no way by default for clients to submit a testimonial on your site. And that's a good thing because say somebody submitted a defamation, what is that, a libelous, defamous, I don't know. It's incorrect, it's wrong, and they're just mad at you for no reason. And they submitted a testimonial and it was automatically on your site, and you would maybe not know about that right away. Maybe they sent it overnight and other people saw that on your site. It could hurt your business. So you want to be in control of the testimonials that show on your site. So you have to enter each one manually into the testimonials section. We do have a complimentary form that we can add to your site. Where am I here? I don't have that link here. Okay, so on the scottleroymarketing.com/support, there is a, testimonial submission form that we can add to your site. Just go fill out that form and we can add that to your site via Google Forms. And people can submit the testimonial. It'll be sent to your email and you can decide whether or not you want to add it to the testimonial section. If you want to learn more about adding a testimonial, let me send this to you guys here. I've got the link there to how to add, oh, no, that's not right. If you have a couple of testimonials, you know what? I'm going to cover that in just a little bit. We'll come back to it. So we're just creating our testimonials index. We'll click Save to send that live on the site. And no, I don't want to edit my menu. I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around a little bit. That's it for pages right now. We're going to jump over here to blog posts. Now I have the question sometimes, what's the difference between a page and a blog post? A page is more of a static fixture on your site. You want it to be essentially the same most of the time. It's not going to be changing much. It's not going to have time-sensitive information. It's just going to be available to be found in the same place all the time on your site. Instead, a blog post is very much like a newspaper article. You expect for newer newspaper editions to push down and push out and be more relevant than older newspaper editions, and the same thing for blog posts. A blog post is more time-sensitive, so say you can have like a holiday blog post, or you can say something about spring cleaning or whatever in that time of year. And then the next month you could do a blog post about, that bikini body that you've been putting off that pushes back that spring cleaning because it's more relevant time-wise. So blog posts are more mercurial, and the older ones are going to get pushed down by the newer ones versus pages, which are static and going to be found in the menu. So we'll go over here to blog posts. And there should be several blog posts that are created by default on your site. These are generated at the same time as your site. They're automatic. They're not going to be updated by Placester or by KW or by us. Any new blog post content is your responsibility, and you would need to click the plus sign up here to create any new blog posts that you want to add to your site. Nobody but you is going to be adding blogs to your site. I just want to make that clear there. If you do want to learn more about how to blog, what to put into a blog, how to get into a schedule for blogging, we do have a challenge for that also, as well as that SEO challenge that I sent you guys a little while ago. So if you want to edit any of the existing blog posts, you're welcome to do that. You can click on the name or on the edit link over here on the right. You can also remove any of those default blog posts, which is typically a good idea because they're going to be very general, not specific to your area or your business. And then if you click the plus sign up here, we can create a new blog post. Eventually, there we go. So creating a blog post is very similar to creating a page, except there's a couple of new fields that we'll see farther down. The title and the slug are still connected here. They just switched places. So I'm going to call this like a test blog post. And you see that updates the slug here as well. And then down here in the content section, very similar to the page content for a default page, you can do your code, you can put in your text, you can format it, you can do your images and videos, very similar to creating a page. And then if we scroll down here, these are the new things that I was talking about. This is an excerpt is a short summary of what's up here in the content section without rewriting it. You want this to be short and easy to read to grab people's attention to go over into read the full blog post. So I'm going to go get some fake text here. I'm going to go get some lorem ipsum generator. Gosh, can't type right now. There we go, lorem ipsum, go generate a couple of paragraphs. Lorem ipsum, if you're not familiar with that, is some fake Latin text that's just there to fill space to show you what it looks like with text in it. Doesn't actually mean anything. It's just there to show you, okay, here's some text here, this is what it looks like. And then for the excerpt here, I'm going to pretend, this is a summary of this nice blog post. There we go. Under that, we've got a featured image. This is going to show both at the top of the page while viewing this individual blog post and on that blog post index page. So when someone clicks blog in your menu, it's going to list all of your blog posts. It's going to show on that page with the title. So for this featured image, you typically want to make it about whatever your topic is that you're writing about. So I'm going to go get an image that I got here. There we go, blog featured image, and that's uploaded there. Now, as far as what images you're allowed to use on your site, and I use allowed very deliberately, because your site is commercial, you are using it to gain business. You can't just go to Google and grab any image that you want to use on your site. Most of the images there are going to be copyrighted, and the copyright owner could potentially come after you later for back fees for using their image without permission. Where can we change the alt text for images? That is a great question. Let me go back up here and add an image here. You're going to upload your image. Let me choose that same file here. When you upload the image, there we go. This is your alt text box right here. Pretty easy. And then I'll save that. I'm just going to put that in the page there. There we go. Looks nice. Okay, that was a very good question. So as far as getting images to use on your site, images that you take yourself are just fine. Those are your images. You own the rights to them. You can use them on your site any way you want. You can go and buy stock images. You can buy the rights to use X number of stock images. You can go, say you've got a photographer friend, you can have them take some pictures for you. Or you can go find what's called royalty-free images. And we have a class for exactly how to find those images on the internet to use for free on your site without getting any penalties or without having to pay for them. There are ones that are marked as you can use this for free without crediting me or without paying me. It's not like you're trying to steal the images. They're marked specifically for that use. And then down here, there's another meta title and meta description for each blog post. Everything that we create from pages over here to areas has its own meta title and meta description. If you want to learn how to write that, that was in that SEO guide that I sent you guys a little while ago. So for blog posts, just like pages, you can save it as a draft to send live on your site later according to your blogging schedule that you created using that blog challenge that I sent you guys there. Or you can publish it to send it live to your site right away, which is what I'm going to do here. Jumping over here to testimonials, we're going to click the plus sign here to create a new testimonial. If you've got a newer site, there's probably a couple of generic testimonials that are put in here. These aren't real people. They're not real testimonials. They didn't get them from anywhere. They're just showing you what a testimonial looks like. And you would probably want to click that remove button, remove link for each and every one of those because they're not your real testimonials, and start with a blank slate. Then you can click your plus sign to create a new testimonial. And these testimonials, you can get them from anywhere that you have received testimonials. So if you have them on like Zillow or Yelp or Real Satisfied or anything else, and you don't have that paid account where you can put those on there automatically, say somebody emailed you a testimonial or did it on Facebook or Google reviews, you can copy and paste those here into your site. Those are your reviews. You can do whatever you want with them. So for each review, you've got, again, a title and a slug, and it looks like they've switched places again. So I'm going to call this a fake review. And you notice it puts that at the end of the slug here as the address. And then down here in the testimonial itself, you've got the same editor as on the blog post and on creating a default page. You can put in code, you can format text, you can put in an image, and you can do a video. I'm going to paste in my lorem ipsum text again, if I can go get it. Eventually, there we go. Coming down here, we've got some new fields. This referrer field is the name of the person who sent you this review or this testimonial or whatever you want to call it. So say it was your buyer, you would put their name in here. Say it was your seller, put their name. If they want to be anonymous, you can put anonymous in here. Or if you don't have their name, you could put anonymous in here. For affiliation, this is what type of person that you worked with that sent you this review. So is this a buyer, a seller, a vendor, your co-broker on the other side of the transaction? Is it your broker that says you're doing a great job? Is it maybe a glowing article somebody wrote about you in a local magazine? You can put that here. So you know, reviewer, buyer, seller. So I'm going to call this a buyer. Pretend this is a buyer that I worked with. Under that, we've got this checkbox here for feature on your home page. It does say this is only available for select themes, and those themes are Madison and Madison Metro, those two KW specific themes. Any of the other themes, you can't show any, what are they called, testimonials on the home page on your site. So I'm gonna check this box here just to show you what that looks like on the home page of Scott's site. Under that, we've got our excerpt button again, or excerpt box again. So I'm gonna call, you know, so this anonymous reviewer loves Scott's way of helping to buy a home, something like that. And then for featured image here, this is a very similar situation for blog posts. You want to make sure to use images that you have the rights to use. So maybe say you took a picture of your client that you want to show here on your website, or they sent you a picture, or you took a picture of the listing or something like that. That's a great idea to use here for featured image. I'm going to pretend I don't have a picture of this client and or they want it to be anonymous. So I'm going to do the picture of the listing here. And that's going to show on that testimonials index page. And then again, down here is a meta title and meta description. One thing I forgot to cover back on the blog, and this is going to be true for everything we create moving forward, for blog posts, testimonials, and areas, typically whatever you put here in the excerpt is usually okay to put here in the meta description also, because it creates consistency, and typically if you want people coming in from search engines, you want them to see the same thing on the search engine as they're going to see on your site. So typically okay for blog posts, testimonials, and areas to use the same thing as the excerpt in the meta description. And then we'll save that to send that live on the site right away. Lastly, we're going to come over here to areas. This is where we're going to spend a good bit of time, and I'm glad I've got a good bit of time left at the end of the class here. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything here. Oh, that's the thing I meant to come back to you guys for. We have a service where we can add up to, actually this is incorrect here listed, we can add up to 10 testimonials to your site for you. You would just submit each of those one at a time using this form that I'm sending you guys here on the site. There we go. So just you submit that form once for each testimonial that you want added to your site, and we can get those added for you. Or you just saw that it was really, really easy to add those testimonials yourself. You just paste it in, click save, basically. Okay. In fact, it probably takes more time to submit the testimonial for us to put on your site as it does for you to do it yourself. So anyway. Jumping over here to areas, there should be, theoretically, if your site is newer, there may be some default area pages here, something about downtown living and quiet living and urban living, something like that. You can delete all of those as well because they're not actually accurate to your specific area. And we're going to click the plus sign to create a new one. So again, we've got our slug and our title, and this is going to be a test area. And now we've got a bunch of new fields here right after the title. This is essentially you're performing a search for this area that you're writing about in the MLS. So here for add search criteria, you've got the option of city, county, neighborhood, state, or zip, and these are alphabetical here. We're going to recommend most often, about 99% of the time, to write about a neighborhood. You could potentially write about your city, but probably everyone and their mother has written about your city. Instead, we recommend neighborhood for one very, very important reason. One of the things that sets KW agents apart, why didn't it add that? I'm not sure what the issue is here. One of the things that sets KW agents apart is that you're supposed to be what's called the local expert in your area, and writing about one particular neighborhood makes you look like the expert for that particular neighborhood. So for example, let me go over to my Placester site. That's not right. Gosh, I did not type that correctly. That's what I get for trying to be fast. Okay, so here's my Placester site. This is when I was back in Pensacola. And, okay, it looks like I don't have any areas. All right, bad example. Okay, so I was in a class a couple of years ago where the instructor was talking about he had a client that he was working with that on his Placester site he had written an area page about one particular subdivision. It was a fairly new subdivision, fairly small, but if you Googled that subdivision, the only things that would show up is the builder's website because it was a new subdivision, and then a whole bunch of like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, everything, list of listings that are in that subdivision. There was no actual information about what that subdivision was like. What is it close to? What amenities does it have? What style of homes are getting built there? What's the average square foot? What's the average price? None of that information was easily available. So this guy wrote an area page about that particular subdivision, and within a year he'd had 3 sales in that subdivision because of this area page that he wrote. So he made himself the expert on that particular subdivision, and he was essentially the only person on the the entire internet that had information about that subdivision that wasn't just a list of listings. And so as you do that for the areas in your area, you become that local expert and you have information that's valuable to searchers and to people that are looking for a listing that other people don't have. So we recommend 99% of the time, write your area pages about one particular neighborhood. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. I'm going to see if I can't get this to actually work. Whenever it decides to load. Eventually. Not the fastest system, Placester. Okay, test area. Add search criteria neighborhood. Click add. There we go. Now I've got a field for a neighborhood. Now this is going to be searching your MLS that's connected in the IDX integration section back in site settings. So you want to search for a neighborhood that's defined by your MLS. I'm going to put Jonesboro. Let's see, Jonesville. We'll do Jonesville. No, that's a city. There we go. The Ridges subdivision. I'll pretend I know what that is. And then we're not going to add any additional search criteria because it just gets bigger from there. Under that, we have the option for default sort, and this is where it's going to show listings at the bottom of this area page. And by default, they're sorted by highest price first, which is, depending on the area that you're writing about, may be fine. But if it's maybe a newer subdivision, or maybe it's a historic neighborhood, or it's an area with a lot of investment opportunities, you may want to sort them differently, maybe by lowest price, or by newest on site, or by year built, or by actually year built oldest or newest. So I'm going to pretend the Ridges subdivision is a historic neighborhood. So I want to show the oldest homes first, and it'll show all of them, but it'll show the oldest homes first in that search down at the bottom of the area page. And then the last thing to choose here is how many listings do you want to show per page at the bottom of the area page. I'm just going to select 50. I don't know how many there actually are. Oh, it tells me down here. 32 in that subdivision. So 50 covers that. Scrolling down a little further, we got a checkbox here for should this area be featured. That's not featuring it on the home page, that's featuring it on that area's index page that we created a little while ago. This is going to show above the alphabetical section. So if you don't check this box, areas are sorted alphabetically by their title. If you do check this box, there's another section above that that's going to sort these featured ones alphabetically by title. So it'll do the featured ones alphabetical, then it'll start over again alphabetical with the non-featured ones. If that's clear as mud and you're not getting that, let me know. There's no reason for me to check this box right now because this is the only area page on the site, but if you did have multiple areas, maybe some are ones that you want to show above the others and you would check this box here. Under that, we've got a section here where we can upload slideshow images. These are going to slide through at the top of this individual area page. They're not going to show on the area's index. And it's very similar to the slideshow on the home page, with one exception that you can upload as many images as you want. You're not limited to 5 images in that slideshow. So I'm going to upload several images here. Got these 5 images. These are actually the same images. Okay, I guess I have to do these one by one. These are the same images that I used on the homepage slideshow, or actually similar images. And I'm just going to show you what they look like on this area page once we get it done. And I'm just going to do 3. Okay. So moving down here to the page content section, this is very similar but also a little different from the other page contents that we've looked at before, because we've got this headline section, then we've got some body copy, and then we've got a separator image that we can upload here. Then we've got a section 2 and some body copy, then another separator image section, and then a section 3 and some body copy, and then the end of the post there. So we're going to go a little bit into detail about these. The headline is going to be your attention grabber. You want to make this make people want to stay on the page. And we actually have a fill in the blank template that we can send to you guys here. I'm sending you the link right now. It's a Google Docs file. You just make a copy into your drive, and then you can copy and paste it here and basically fill in the blanks. Fill in the bracketed sections with information about this particular neighborhood that you're writing about. So this first section, you may want to talk about amenities and average square foot and average price and things like that. And I'm just going to put in some test information here. I'm going to paste in my lorem ipsum text. Nope, that's not lorem ipsum. Where is my lorem ipsum? Eventually, there it is. So I paste in that lorem ipsum text there. So that's section 1 and its body section. And then between section 1 and 2, there's this upload file button here for an image that's going to separate section 1 and section 2. And this image is going to be all the way across the post. So I've got an image that I've got here, section images, this nice flower here. This is going to go all the way from left to right to separate section 1 from section 2. It says images should be 600 pixels wide. That's a minimum number. You want it to be at least 600 pixels wide. It can be wider than that for sure. It's just if it's less than 600 pixels wide, it's going to try to blow it up and it may get pixelated or blurry. So you want to start bigger and have it shrink it down to 600 pixels if it needs to. Down here we've got section 2, and I've got my lorem ipsum text again. And then between 2 and 3, we have 2 upload file buttons. That means there's going to be 2 side-by-side images separating section 1 from section 2. So I'm going to upload those 2 images here. And one thing to note about that section 1 and section 2 dividers here, for section 1, you want this to be a horizontal landscape image. You want it to be wider than it is tall. Here between section 2 and section 3, you actually want these to be portrait vertical images. You want them to be taller than they are wide so that they can sit side by side and it'll look nice there. So I'll show you what that looks like on the page once we're all done with all of this. Then we've got, oh, by the way, this is a 300 pixels wide. Again, that's a minimum number because it will shrink it down to 300 if it's bigger than that. And if it's smaller, it'll blow it up to 300 and it may get pixelated again. So we've got our section 3 here and our lorem ipsum text. And then down here at the bottom, again, we've got an excerpt and a featured image. So this is an excerpt or this area, something like that. Or nothing like that, but you want to summarize the area page that you just wrote without rewriting it. And then again, for the excerpt, you can just paste that basically into the meta description if you're doing one. For the featured image, this is going to show on that areas index page. You can use any of the images out of that slideshow that we did earlier. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to use that first image from the slideshow, or you can use a completely different image that's not included in your slideshow. It's up to you. And then we're going to scroll down once that's uploaded and click Save to add that to the site right away. So now, finally, after we did all of that, we're going to go look at Scott's site here to see what those look like on the site. Whenever it finishes loading. There we go. So here are those 2 new pages that I made, my service areas and from the horse's mouth. That's the testimonials. First, we're going to go over here to blog just to see that blog post that I created. So here's that test blog post. This is what it looks like with the other blog posts that are on the site. I can click on the image or on the title here to go in and view that individual blog post. Here is my featured image, and I've repeated that there just to show you guys how to do that alt text. Here is the content of my blog post, and then there's all the share buttons that you or your site visitors can use to share it on social media. Coming back up to the top, we've got my service areas, which is where we put in those that area that we did just a minute ago. This is that areas index page. Here is that page content from that areas index page. And again, this is optional. You don't necessarily have to have that on this page. And then this is where it's going to list those areas. Again, it's going to be alphabetical unless you mark it as featured, then it'll be above the alphabetical starting over. So you can click on the image or on the title to go see that full area page. There's that slideshow across the top here whenever it finishes loading. Those were fairly high quality images, so there we go. We've got our slideshow and it's going to slide through those automatically, all that fun stuff. You'll notice that it is much, much wider than it is tall, and it tells you wants those to be 1600 pixels wide by 600 tall. And that's just a general rule of thumb, about 3 or 4 times wider than they are tall. Coming down here, we've got our section 1 header there. We've got the content of section 1. There's that nice picture separating section 1 from section 2. Got our section 2 header here, that content. Here's our nice separator images between 2 and 3. Those are side by side here. Then we've got our section 3 and that content there. And then down here, we've got that list of listings in that area. And these are going to be sorted by year built oldest, like I said. And it looks like there's a lot of land here, and I don't know why it's telling me that those were built a long time ago. Anyway, there we go. There's my actual listings that are in that area. And they can change the sort of this if they want to. They can do that right here under the map. And it's showing them there on the map as well. Coming back up to the very top, we've got that last section here, the from the horse's mouth. That's those testimonials. Very good question, number 52 again. Is there a limit to the number of neighborhoods you can add to the area index page? No, there is not. You can write as many area pages as you want. To your heart's content, be that local expert for as many areas around you as you can be. Very good question. Okay, so here on our testimonials index page, this is where it's going to list those testimonials. Here's that review that I put in there. I can click on more here to see the full testimonial eventually. There we go. Here's my fake testimonial here, that lorem ipsum text, and here's that image I uploaded as featured. Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. I think I covered everything. We are right on time, but I will leave the recording open for questions. Otherwise, let's see. To answer your question, Darren, the short answer is no. There is no XML RPC setting for blog posting from an external source. There's not. The Placester sites, what you see is what you get. If I didn't cover that setting, it's not there, basically. So for the blog post, you can either write the post there in Placester, or you can use that RSS feed that I told you about to bring the post in from somewhere else. Okay, that was a very good question. And in the spirit of questions, I am going to leave the recording open for just a couple minutes to answer any questions that you guys may have after that. Another good question from, a couple of questions. So for viewer 52, can I have more than one area menu item and call it something different like dog friendly? I don't believe so. It doesn't, what am I trying to say? From what I'm aware, there's no way to section out areas. Let me think about how you might be able to do that. Yeah, I don't think there's a workaround there. You could potentially create a page instead that's not an areas index, but it wouldn't show listings on it, and it wouldn't have those different sections like is nice and pretty in the areas section. So as far as I understand, there's not a way to section out the area pages. That would be a great feature that you might want to suggest to Placester. Email them at support@placester.com, and they should be able to let you know whether that's something they're working on, or maybe it's part of an upgrade package and you can talk to them about that. Question back from Darren, can neighborhoods be nestled under cities? For example, San Diego, La Mesa Village. That's another one that I'm unfortunately going to have to tell you no. It's very similar to that section from the viewer 52 about dog friendly. An area page is an area page. You can potentially, in the menu, let me go here real quick to the site settings. We've got, let me go down to the menu. We've got that areas, my service areas menu item here in the menu. I could come down here and the test area will be listed in this drop down here, so I could add that to the menu, and then I could drag that on top of like my service areas here. So what you could do is, oh, and this only goes one level deep, so unfortunately that's not really going to work for what you're looking for. But what you could do is my service areas, and you could write an area about La Mesa Village, and you could nest that here under service areas. Or, well, no. I think what you're getting at would be something like this. You would write an area page about, say, San Diego, and then you would add that area page to the menu just like I did with test area. And then you would write another area page about La Mesa or La Mesa Village, and you would add that to the menu as well, and you would nest La Mesa Village under San Diego. Unfortunately, San Diego can't then be nested under my service areas because this only goes one level deep. I think that's what you're getting at, and unfortunately the Placester site is fairly limited there. If it's not covered in Placester 101 and 201, essentially it's not possible, you can't do it. The Placester system, it is built on WordPress, but it's not nearly as customizable as WordPress. It's Placester's template on WordPress, and you're limited to what Placester allows you to do. Yeah. Okay, one more from Darren. Can we create a blog post using a listing from the IDX feed? I'm a little unclear on that. Are you wanting to, like, you go to the listing and there's there a button to create a blog post? No, there's not. What you could potentially do is find that listing, copy the address out of the address bar, and put that into the blog post. But it's not going to show like that listing's information down at the bottom. It's not going to show it on the map down at the bottom. Everybody, thank you and have a great day.